Welcome to the Haskell News. I am Dallas Rudd. This year, students registering for classes ran into some problems. Here is Rulin Mariano with the story.
I spoke with several students who were upset with this year's enrollment of fall 2012.
It was long and it was hot. I think it was unorganized. They had all of us in the same hallway. And then the next day they had us waiting outside. It was a little better, a little cooler. Same line, same problems, same amount of time.
I think that students that are planning to graduate should get their classes first before anybody else does. And then it should go in order from seniors, juniors, sophomores, and then freshmen, because people that actually need certain classes, don't ever get them. They don't get them in time. So I think that's how it should be done. And it should be done electronically, because, just writing your schedule down and putting it in a pile and putting people on top of people, and it doesn't really get anywhere. So I think everything should be done electronically, because it would be way smoother.
It sucked because all the kids that didn't pre-enroll had to wait in like that big long line or whatever, and then there was another line for people that were just picking up their schedules and they wanted to add and drop classes. The whole process was a little ridiculous, I thought, because some people were saying, oh, you have to go through this line and then you have to go through this line. So if you had pre-enrolled, they were going to make you go in the line where people that didn't pre-enroll were before you.
Well, I kind of like what they did when we first got here last fall, how they did the brand new students one day and the continuing students another day, because that gives the continuing students more chance to get their classes that they need to graduate, especially if they're trying to graduate like in the fall or spring, whatever. That idea I like, because you didn't have to wait in line for so long, especially if you already got your schedules. I think they should just go ahead and been able to just turn them in right then and there, instead of having to wait in line, then you find out you don't have that, you can't get into that class because it's full, because it's taken up by new students.
Well, number one, it was crowded. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It was pretty good for the most part, I guess. It took a lot to go in there and figure everything out. I'll be one to admit I was kind of confused at where to go and what to do and how to do it.
We tried to get a statement from admissions regarding the issues towards enrollment, but they have yet to respond to students' complaints. I'm Rulin Ray Mariano from Haskell News.
At the beginning of the fall semester for 2012, some students in Roe Cloud were in for a surprise when checking into their dorm rooms. Here's Don Fuentes with the story.
For the first 2 weeks, students in Roe Cloud Hall had no air conditioning in their rooms. I interviewed 2 students about their experience.
Way too long. I think it should have been done the first couple of days we were here. Like, my opinion, the president or even the other people that are higher up should have been considerate and be like, oh, if my house didn't have AC for 2 weeks, how would we feel? So it took just too long.
It just kind of made you wonder what took them so long to get the AC units in. Because at one point I know they said they were going to put in a specific amount and they were going to stop, and then magically we ended up getting an AC unit about 2 days later. So I thought that was very interesting, just from some information that you hear around campus, and like them saying something about somebody ran to the newspaper, mentioned our president's name in it, and then all of a sudden it was just like, bam, things get done. So why is it that you have to mention somebody's name and how things aren't being done correctly around Haskell for things to get done? Just something to think about.
Tina Coachman, an RA of Roe Cloud, had this to say about having no air conditioning.
Well, the AC system was fixed when we came back to work on August 6th, and the contractors were working on them that week. And then on August 13th, when we returned, the contractors did not return, and we were told they ran out of money, so they stopped working. And then, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the blog that was put in the Lawrence Journal World, but after that was put in, all of a sudden 4 guys showed up to install the AC units.
Contractors did come up with the money and are now going room to room in Roe Cloud and fixing the air conditioning. This is Don Fuentes, Haskell News.
The Wetlands at Haskell are in trouble after an appeal in Colorado failed to reach a favorable decision for the Wetlands Protection Organization. Here is Marcus Bonoski with the story.
10th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in favor for the proposed South Lawrence trafficway, which would be built through the Baker Wetlands. The road will be a bypass which will link K-10 east of Lawrence to I-70 in West Lawrence. The Wetlands Preservation Organization has been in battle with the SLT for the past 19 years, and this decision will not stop them in an appeal to the Supreme Court.
Our new VP is he's contacted the Cherokee Nation and talked to some of their lawyers, who is going to try to find out what they can do, because we know there are bodies in the wetlands. There are children still in the wetlands. We are going to appeal to the Supreme Court, and we're going to pay our money and see if they will hear our case. You know, they can always refuse it, but at least we've taken that next step. You know, we're not stopping. We have not stopped. We have had this fight going on for over 20 years. You know, they thought the SLT back then, they thought they were just going to come in and put a lane through Indian land, and that was a done deal. And we have surprised them by fighting them, and we are not going to stop now.
The beginning of construction for the final 6 miles of road is scheduled to begin in October of 2013 at an estimated cost of $150 million.
The Haskell Health Fair kicked off the fall semester with testing and important information available for students. Here's Ashley Ignacio with more.
The Haskell Health Fair was attended by many students, and they are encouraged by others to get free HIV testing.
I've been tested one time before, and I try to at least get tested once a year.
This is my first time getting tested, which is a good thing that they came.
Most vendors handed out informational brochures, but the Haskell Health Center booth took it a step further by recruiting students into their diabetes prevention program.
We have a 16-week course that you would go through if you qualify for our program, and with that there are incentives that we'll give out for basically for each time you come to class, and then we have one big incentive at the end, which usually we give out a pair of Nike N7s.
Be sure to look out for other Haskell Health Fairs later in the school semester. This is Ashley Ignacio with the Haskell News.
Haskell held its 24th annual Haskell Indian Art Market. Here's Lucretia Lovato with the story.
Haskell Indian Nations University recently held their 24th annual Indian Art Market, which was located at the Haskell Powwow Grounds. Many visitors came from all around to enjoy the art being sold by student vendors and non-student vendors, who are required to be affiliated with a recognized tribe. As I myself walked around to admire the art, an anonymous seller at a booth voiced a concern he had with me off camera. First, he showed me his raw stones he uses to make his jewelry. He then explained his long and complicated art of jewelry making. He pointed out that he noticed a few other vendors at the market had not made their own jewelry, but were selling works of art that were not theirs. Some were even selling fake turquoise. He mentioned to me that the fake jewelry could be sold at a lower price, and that would hurt his profit. I asked co-chair David and Steve what they do about these kinds of situations.
Yeah, we have to kind of police that and make sure that we don't get knockoffs, make sure that the artist that's selling their wares is actually what they produced. I mean, that is one of the criteria, is that they can't just bring in something that somebody else produced. The artist has to be on site and selling their jewelry. So,
like always, buyers should be aware of their purchase. Haskell's goal in the art market is to showcase Native American art with an emphasis in the student artists.
Haskell women's volleyball team held their first home game of the volleyball season. Here is Stan Lovato with the story.
The Haskell Lady Indians held their first home game of the 2012 volleyball season against Ottawa University at Coffin Complex. I was able to get an interview with one of the players.
My name is Lisa Adsity. I'm full Navajo. I'm a freshman here at Haskell, and I'm a setter.
I also asked how she felt about playing for this year's team and the excitement she had for the home opener.
I'm like more excited. I think I'm like anxious. Just the feeling in me right now, I don't know, it's like gets me all hyped up, you know?
Following a tough loss in their home opener, The Lady Indians continue looking forward to the rest of their season.
The Haskell 2012 football season is underway. Here is my report. In the air this past weekend for Haskell's first football home game. Haskell faithful came out to show their support and filled the stands. The Fighting Indians came out fired up and fell short 62-6. Randall Batiste caught a 60-yard pass from Maverick Lane. Some of the players have received national recognition. Malcolm Coleman is 8th in the nation for rushing yards per game. Mark Levens is 2nd in the nation for 2012 sacks per game. Despite the tough losses, senior Malcolm Coleman keeps a positive outlook.
What motivates me to keep coming back is, getting my name on the banner. When I came here my freshman year, I told myself that's something that I wanted to do. It's a long time ago that I need to accomplish, and basically just being able to play 4 years of football, a sport that I love, and keeps me out of trouble. And that's what motivates me.
Next home game is September 22nd against Bacone. In an update to a story that happened back in May 2012, Haskell Athletics was the subject of a federal investigation for falsifying ACT scores for athletes. No new information has been provided about the case, despite numerous interviews and open records requests by the local city paper. Yesterday, the NAIA, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, listed Haskell Indian Nations University on probation on its website at the NAIA.org. On probation is the all men's and women's athletics programs for the school years 2012 through 2014. It involves violations involving ineligible players. We will have an update on what this means for the Haskell Athletics teams in the next news. This has been the Haskell News. I am Dallas Rudd.